Welcome to PL-300, Advanced Analytics, Copilot, and Dynamic Reporting. This focused 35-question practice session covers analytical features, AI-assisted reporting, personalization, visual calculations, and dynamic refresh. Work each scenario before the answer is revealed. For every question, use 4 phases. Read the complete scenario and every visible choice or control. Lock in your answer during the silent interval. Review the correct answer, then use the reasoning and exam clue to strengthen transfer. Matching and ordering questions keep every requirement, action, and target visible while the solution is resolved. Question 1. While editing a report, an analyst runs Analyze, then explain the increase on a column chart data point. Power BI opens an insight window with a waterfall visual. The analyst switches the result to a ribbon chart and now wants that ribbon chart on the report canvas so it can be formatted like other report visuals. What should the analyst do next? Answer choices. A. Select the thumbs up button at the top of the insight window. B. Create a bookmark while the insight window is open and enable the bookmark's data property. C. Export the insight window to a CSV file and import the file as a new semantic model. D. Select the plus button at the top of the insight visual. The correct answer is D. Select the plus button at the top of the insight visual. In report editing mode, the plus button adds the currently selected insight visual to the report. After it is added, the analyst can format or adjust it like a manually created visual. The feedback buttons rate the insight but don't add it to the canvas. Exam clue. When an analyzed result should become an editable report visual, choose the desired insight chart and use the plus button while editing the report. Question 2. A Power BI report contains an executive overview page, a detailed operations page, and an appendix page. You need to add a visual that uses Copilot to summarize the executive overview and 2 selected operations visuals while excluding the appendix. What should you do? Answer choices. A. Add a Q&A visual and populate its suggested questions with the names of the 3 report pages. B. Create a report bookmark that captures only the executive overview and operations pages. C. Add a narrative visual. Choose Copilot as the narrative type and select the pages and visuals to include or exclude. D. Open the Copilot pane and ask it to create a new report page containing the existing visuals. The correct answer is C. Add a narrative visual. Choose Copilot as the narrative type and select the pages and visuals to include or exclude. The narrative visual with Copilot is designed to summarize an entire report, selected pages, or selected visuals. Its creation dialog lets the author include or exclude individual pages and visuals, so it can produce the requested scope summary as a report visual. Exam clue. When the required output is a generated summary that remains on the report canvas, choose the narrative visual and explicitly scope the report content it can use. Question 3. A scatter chart plots annual revenue against order quantity for thousands of customers. The analyst wants Power BI to discover natural segments of customers whose attribute values are similar, but the analyst doesn't want to predetermine how many segments should exist. Which action should the analyst perform? Answer choices. A. Open more options on the scatter chart, select Automatically Find Clusters, and leave Number of Clusters blank. B. Add a Key Influencers visual and place Customer Name in both Analyze and Explain By. C. Control-select several visible points, select Group Data, and place all remaining points in an Other group. D. Create equal-sized bins for annual revenue and use the bin field as the chart legend. The correct answer is A. Open more options on the scatter chart, select Automatically Find Clusters, and leave Number of Clusters blank. Automatic clustering analyzes similarities and dissimilarities among data points and creates a categorical cluster field. From a scatter chart, the analyst can select more options, then automatically find clusters. Leaving number of clusters blank lets Power BI determine the number that best fits the data instead of forcing a predefined count. Exam clue. Use automatic clustering to discover similarity-based segments. Leave the cluster count blank when Power BI should determine an appropriate number of clusters. Question 4. A line chart contains 24 monthly data points on its time series axis. It plots both revenue and margin in values and uses region in legend. You need to make the visual eligible for anomaly detection. Which 2 changes should you make? Select 2 answers. Answer choices. A. Keep only 1 measure in values. B. Add forecast from the analytics pane. C. Increase the anomaly sensitivity setting. D. Remove region from legend. The correct answers are A. Keep only 1 measure in values. D. Remove region from legend. Anomaly detection supports a time series line chart with at least 4 points, but it does not support legends or multiple values. Removing region from legend and reducing values to 1 measure resolves both structural limitations. The existing 24 points already exceed the minimum. Exam clue. Before tuning anomaly sensitivity, verify the visual boundary, a time series line chart, at least 4 points, no legend, and a single value series. Question 5. A report author is working with a Power BI report connected to an unfamiliar semantic model. The author needs Copilot to produce a natural language summary of the underlying model. Which action should the author take? Select 1 answer. Answer choices. A. Open the Copilot pane and ask Copilot to summarize the model. B. Open DAX Query View and ask Copilot to generate a query for the model. C. Select the model measures and ask Copilot to generate their descriptions. D. Add a narrative visual and ask Copilot to summarize the current report page. The correct answer is A. Open the Copilot pane and ask Copilot to summarize the model. Open the Copilot pane and ask Copilot to summarize the model. This produces a natural language summary of the underlying semantic model. Exam clue. Match the requested output to the Copilot surface. A model summary comes from asking in the Copilot pane. Question 6. A line chart of weekly service requests uses anomaly detection, and users rely on its anomaly markers and explanations. The same report page must also show a forecast of future requests. The 2 analyses do not have to appear in one visual. What should you do? Answer choices. A. Add forecast to the existing line chart while leaving anomaly detection enabled. B. Add a legend field to the existing line chart and then add forecast to the chart. C. Convert the existing line chart to a clustered column chart and add forecast while retaining anomaly detection. D. Keep anomaly detection on the existing line chart. Duplicate the chart and add forecast to the duplicate without anomaly detection. The correct answer is D. Keep anomaly detection on the existing line chart. Duplicate the chart and add forecast to the duplicate without anomaly detection. Forecast and anomaly detection cannot operate together on the same line chart. Separate line charts preserve the anomaly markers and explanations in one visual, while allowing the other line chart to use forecast. Forecast is line chart only, so changing to a clustered column chart would not solve the requirement. Exam clue. When 2 analytics pane features are incompatible on one visual, preserve each analysis in a separate supported visual, rather than forcing both onto the same chart. Question 7. A report author is following the current Power BI service tutorial to use Copilot suggestions as the starting point for a new profit analysis by product page. Arrange the actions in the correct order. Available actions. A. Select profit analysis by product. B. Ask Copilot to suggest content. C. Add a new report page. D. Select create. The correct order is Step 1, C, add a new report page. Step 2, B, ask Copilot to suggest content. Step 3, A, select profit analysis by product. Step 4, D, select create. First, add a new report page. Then ask Copilot to suggest content, select profit analysis by product, and select create. Exam clue. Create the page before requesting suggestions. Choose a suggestion before selecting create. Question 8. A line chart displays daily refund amounts. You need Power BI to automatically flag unexpected spikes or dips against an expected range and let users select a flagged point to investigate possible explanations. Which feature should you configure? Answer choices. A. Anomalies in the analytics pane. B. A y-axis constant line. C. A forecast in the analytics pane. D. Error bars calculated by percentage. The correct answer is A. Anomalies in the analytics pane. Anomaly detection enriches a time series line chart with an expected range and marks values outside that boundary as anomalies. Selecting an anomaly can trigger analysis across model fields and return possible explanations and associated factors. Exam clue. For automatic time series outlier marking plus root cause suggestions, use anomalies rather than a manually defined reference or uncertainty range. Question 9. A table uses a visual calculation to display a running balance. Consumers must export the table to a file and receive the running balance values in the exported data. The current export omits those values. What should the report author do? Answer choices. A. Hide the visual calculation in Visual Calculation Edit mode before exporting. B. Implement the running balance as a model measure and use that measure in the table. C. Pin the table with its visual calculation to a dashboard before exporting. D. Change the export from summarized data to underlying data while retaining the visual calculation. The correct answer is B. Implement the running balance as a model measure and use that measure in the table. Power BI data exports exclude visual calculation results. If the calculated result must be part of exported data, the calculation must be implemented through a supported model-level mechanism, such as a measure used by the table, rather than retained as a visual calculation. Exam clue. Use visual calculations for visual local analysis, but choose a model calculation when a result must participate in unsupported downstream features, such as data export. Question 10. You are editing a Power BI report connected to a sales semantic model. You need Copilot to create a new report page showing revenue by month, margin by product category, and a regional sales map from a written business requirement. Which mechanism should you use? Answer choices. A. Add a Q&A visual and enter the business requirement as a suggested question. B. Open the Copilot pane and enter a natural language prompt describing the report page and visuals. C. Add a narrative visual and ask it to summarize the entire report. D. Create a quick measure for each requested visual and wait for Power BI to add a page automatically. The correct answer is B. Open the Copilot pane and enter a natural language prompt describing the report page and visuals. The Copilot pane in Power BI Desktop or the Power BI service accepts natural language descriptions of the report or visuals to create. Copilot then generates a report page based on that request, which directly fits the explicit page brief. Exam clue. When you already know what a new page should contain, state the page and visual requirements as a prompt in the Report Authoring Copilot pane. Question 11. A report page already contains a smart narrative visual with an authored sentence. The author needs the sentence to include the value of an existing backlog orders measure. The displayed number must recalculate when a reader cross-filters the page, while the surrounding sentence remains in the narrative. What should the report author do? Answer choices. A. Replace the smart narrative with a static text box that contains the words backlog orders. B. Edit the smart narrative, insert a dynamic value, and map that value to backlog orders. C. Use backlog orders to conditionally format the smart narrative's background color. D. Type the currently displayed backlog number directly into the smart narrative text. The correct answer is B. Edit the smart narrative, insert a dynamic value, and map that value to backlog orders. Smart Narrative supports dynamic values that can be mapped to existing fields and measures. A mapped backlog orders value recalculates with report context, and the narrative updates when other visuals cross-filter it. Literal typed text would remain static. Exam clue. Use a mapped dynamic value when a number inside narrative text must respond to report context. Literal text and appearance formatting do not recalculate the value. Question 12. A semantic model contains the measures estimate, lower limit, and upper limit. A clustered column chart must show estimate by product and display lower limit and upper limit as the actual endpoints of each column's error range. Arrange the actions in the order in which you should perform them. Available actions. A. Configure the error bars by field. B. Create or select the clustered column chart that plots estimate by product. C. Open the analytics pane for the selected visual and expand error bars. D. Assign upper limit and lower limit as the bound fields and set their relationship to absolute. The correct order is Step 1. B. Create or select the clustered column chart that plots estimate by product. Step 2. C. Open the analytics pane for the selected visual and expand error bars. Step 3. A. Configure the error bars by field. Step 4. D. Assign upper limit and lower limit as the bound fields and set their relationship to absolute. Error bars are configured for a selected supported visual from the analytics pane. By field accepts upper and lower bound fields from the semantic model. Because lower limit and upper limit contain the actual endpoints rather than distances from estimate, the relationship must be absolute. Exam clue. For error bars, use absolute when bound fields contain endpoint values, and relative when they contain distances from the plotted measure. Question 13. In the Power BI service, an author opens a report and finds it in Reading View. The author needs Copilot to create a new report page for late shipment analysis from a natural language description. Propose solution. Select Edit to enter Edit View, open Copilot from the ribbon, and prompt Copilot to create the late shipment report page. Does the solution meet the requirement? Answer choices. A. Yes. B. No. The correct answer is A. Yes. In the Power BI service, report authoring actions with the Copilot pane require the author to enter Edit View. Opening Copilot from the ribbon and describing the required report page is a documented workflow for having Copilot generate that page. Exam clue. If a service report opens in Reading View, enter Edit View before using the report authoring Copilot pane to create or modify pages. Question 14. A monitoring report uses direct query and is published to a workspace on dedicated capacity. Source updates are irregular. The report should pull one measure at a defined cadence and refresh all visuals on the active page only when that measure's value changes. Which automatic page refresh type should the author configure? Answer choices. A. A report page refresh button. B. Fixed interval. C. Scheduled semantic model refresh. D. Change detection. The correct answer is D, change detection. Change detection polls a selected measure at the configured check interval. Power BI refreshes the page visuals only when the measure value changes. In the Power BI service, change detection is supported for direct query reports in dedicated capacity workspaces, subject to capacity settings. Exam clue. Choose fixed interval for cadence-driven page queries and change detection when one polled measure should trigger visual refreshes only after a detected change. Question 15. A report author has two independent requirements. First, the retail and distributor values of a categorical sales channel field must appear as one partner-led category. Second, the continuous order amount field must be displayed in equal ranges that are each $500 wide. Which two techniques should the author use? Select two answers. Answer choices. A. Create a group for order amount and set the number of groups to 500. B. Run automatic clustering on sales channel and specify two clusters. C. Create bins for order amount and set the bin size to 500. D. Group the retail and distributor category values. The correct answers are C. Create bins for order amount and set the bin size to 500. D. Group the retail and distributor category values. Grouping combines selected categorical members into a new category, so it fits the partner-led requirement. Binning places values from a continuous numeric or date field into equal-sized ranges, and a bin size of 500 creates the requested order amount intervals. Exam clue. Use groups for chosen categorical members and bins for equal width ranges over continuous numeric or date fields. Question 16. A matrix displays sales amount by year and month. The report author needs a cumulative sales amount that is stored only on this matrix and is calculated from the aggregated values already displayed. The semantic model must not be changed. Which calculation should the author add to the matrix? Answer choices. A. A calculated table that copies the aggregated matrix values. B. A model measure that uses related table to read the matrix rows. C. A calculated column defined as running total equals running sum sales amount. D. A visual calculation defined as running total equals running sum sales amount. The correct answer is D. A visual calculation defined as running total equals running sum sales amount. A visual calculation is defined and run directly on a visual rather than stored in the semantic model. Running sum is a visual calculation function that accumulates the displayed aggregated value along the visual axis, so it meets both the cumulative total and visual-only requirements. Exam clue. When a calculation should operate on aggregated values already in one visual and remain local to that visual, consider a visual calculation. Question 17. A direct query report uses fixed interval automatic page refresh. In Power BI Desktop, the report author sets the interval to 1 minute. The report is then published to a dedicated capacity workspace whose administrator has configured a 5-minute minimum refresh interval for fixed interval page refresh. What refresh behavior should you expect in the Power BI service? Answer choices. A. The active page refreshes every 30 minutes because every published report uses the shared capacity minimum. B. The active page refreshes every 5 minutes because the capacity administrator's minimum overrides the shorter report interval. C. The active page refreshes only when a measure changes because dedicated capacity converts fixed interval to change detection. D. The active page refreshes every 1 minute because the interval saved in the PBIX file overrides capacity settings. The correct answer is B. The active page refreshes every 5 minutes because the capacity administrator's minimum overrides the shorter report interval. For fixed interval automatic page refresh in dedicated capacity, The capacity administrator defines a minimum allowed refresh interval. When the interval stored in the report is shorter, the Power BI service overrides it with the administrator's minimum. Therefore, the active page refreshes every 5 minutes, not every minute. Exam clue. For published automatic page refresh, compare the report's interval with the capacity administrator's minimum. The effective interval cannot be shorter than the administrative limit. Question 18. A report author has received a natural language summary of an unfamiliar semantic model and is deciding how the summary can support the next phase of analysis. Which use reflects a documented benefit of the summary? Select one answer. Answer choices. A. Use it to set the report canvas dimensions and default page background. B. Use it to validate the calculation logic and outputs of individual model measures. C. Use it to organize model fields into display folders for report authors. D. Use it to direct further investigation toward noteworthy patterns in the model's data. The correct answer is D. Use it to direct further investigation toward noteworthy patterns in the model's data. A semantic model summary can reveal important insights and guide further investigation of noteworthy patterns in the data. Exam clue. Use a model summary to improve exploration and focus analysis on meaningful insights. You are halfway through this analytics workbench. Keep separating feature prerequisites, visual boundaries, author controls, reader capabilities, and service capacity behavior before choosing an implementation. Question 19. An organization has enabled Copilot and assigned supported capacity. Report authors have edit access and are assessing semantic model characteristics before using the report authoring Copilot pane to generate new pages. Which two model characteristics are documented blockers for Copilot report page creation? Select two answers. Answer choices. A. The semantic model uses real-time streaming. B. The Q&A feature switch is enabled. C. Implicit measures are enabled in the semantic model. D. The semantic model uses a live connection to analysis services. The correct answers are A. The semantic model uses real-time streaming. D. The semantic model uses a live connection to analysis services. Copilot cannot create report pages for semantic models that use real-time streaming or a live connection to analysis services. The Q&A feature switch must be on, so an enabled switch is a prerequisite rather than a blocker. Likewise, the documented implicit measure blocker is disabling implicit measures, not enabling them. Exam clue. Before prompting Copilot to create a page, separate required settings from unsupported model architectures. Q&A and implicit measures should be enabled, while real-time streaming and live analysis services connections remain unsupported for page creation. Question 20. Copilot has evaluated a semantic model and returned a report outline. A report author wants to inspect the outline before selecting any suggestion. Which information can the author use for that inspection? Select one answer. Answer choices. A. The filter states bookmark order and navigation actions planned for each page. B. The table relationships, measure formulas, and data categories used by each page. C. The theme colors, canvas dimensions, and interaction settings planned for each page. D. The page subjects, proposed page count, and visuals planned for individual pages. The correct answer is D. The page subjects, proposed page count, and visuals planned for individual pages. The outline shows the subjects of suggested pages, the proposed page count, and the visuals planned for individual pages. Exam clue. Inspect an outline for page topics, page count, and proposed visuals before choosing a suggestion. Question 21. A line chart shows monthly unit demand for the last 3 years. The supply planning team wants the visual to project demand for the next 6 months from the historical time series and display the uncertainty around that projection. Which analytics pane feature should you add to the line chart? Answer choices. A. Trend line. B. Error bars. C. Average line. D. Forecast. The correct answer is D. Forecast. Forecast is the analytics pane feature that predicts future values from historical time data. On a line chart, the author can configure inputs such as forecast length and confidence interval to show the requested 6-month projection and its uncertainty. Exam clue. When the requirement is to extend a time series into future periods, choose Forecast. Use reference lines and error bars to annotate values that are already plotted. Question 22. Readers must hover over a sales data point, change a region slicer inside the display detail surface, and then inspect the filtered visuals without navigating away from the report page. Proposed solution. Create a report tooltip page that contains the region slicer and assign that page to the sales visual. Does the solution meet the requirement? Answer choices. A. Yes. B. No. The correct answer is B. No. Report tooltips aren't interactive. Readers can't select slicers, tab through content, or scroll inside a displayed tooltip. A report tooltip can show filtered detail on hover, but it can't provide the required slicer interaction. Exam clue. Use report tooltips for non-interactive hover details. If readers must interact with filter detail, use an interactive report surface, such as a drill-through page. Question 23. A report author is designing a controlled personalization experience. A purpose may be used once, more than once, or not at all. Report enablement, visual exclusion, field scope, and reader persistence. Match each configuration or user action to its primary purpose. Configurations or actions. 1. Set a report reader perspective for a report page. 2. Select Personalize Visuals under Current File, then Report Settings. 3. For one selected visual, turn off Personalize Visual under General, then Header Icons, then Icons. 4. After personalizing a visual, create a personal bookmark. Available purposes. A. Reader persistence. B. Visual exclusion. C. Field scope. D. Report enablement. The correct matches are Configuration or Action 1 maps to C, Field scope. Configuration or Action 2 maps to D, Report enablement. Configuration or Action 3 maps to B, Visual exclusion. Configuration or Action 4 maps to A, Reader persistence. The current file report setting enables personalization for the report. A visual level Personalize Visual switch excludes that visual while the report feature remains enabled. A report reader perspective limits the fields presented for personalization on the page. A personal bookmark captures a reader's personalized view so the reader can return to it. Exam clue. Treat personalization as 4 separate controls. Enable it for the report, exclude exceptions, focus available fields with perspectives, and let readers save changes with personal bookmarks. Question 24. An import mode report without row-level security contains a line chart of monthly net sales. The value for June is much lower than the value for May. You need Power BI to identify the categories that most influence this change from the immediately preceding data point. Which action should you perform? Answer choices. A. Select the chart's analytics pane and add a minimum line. B. Right-click the May data point and select Analyze, then explain the increase. C. Create numeric bins on the net sales measure and use the bins as the line chart axis. D. Right-click the June data point and select Analyze, then explain the decrease. The correct answer is D. Right-click the June data point and select Analyze, then explain the decrease. Explain the decrease analyzes the selected point against the immediately previous point. Selecting June therefore analyzes the May to June decline and returns categories that most influence the decrease, initially presenting the insight as a waterfall visual with an explanatory description. Exam clue. Explain increase or decrease is contextual. Select the later data point, and Power BI compares it with the immediately previous point. Question 25. A report author creates a dedicated report page that will be manually assigned as a custom tooltip for several visuals. The page must use the canvas dimensions optimized for tooltips and must appear as an available tooltip page in each visual's page dropdown. Which two page-level settings should the author configure? Select two answers. Answer choices. A. In mobile layout, mark the page as phone only. B. In canvas settings, set the page size template to letter. C. In page information, turn drill through on. D. In page information, turn tooltip on. E. In canvas settings, set the page size template to tooltip. The correct answers are D. In page information, turn tooltip on. E. In canvas settings, set the page size template to tooltip. The tooltip page size template provides canvas dimensions optimized for a hover tooltip. Turning tooltip on in page information registers the report page as a tooltip so it can be selected from a supported visual's tooltip page dropdown. Exam clue. For a report page tooltip, separate canvas design from registration. Use the tooltip size template, then enable tooltip in page information. Question 26. A customer retention model contains a renewed field with yes and no outcomes, plus fields for contract type, support plan level, region, and customer tenure. An analyst needs a visual that ranks the factors associated with customers not renewing and shows the relative effect of each factor. Proposed solution. Add a key influencer's visual, place renewed in Analyze, choose the no outcome, and place the candidate explanatory fields in Explain By. Does this solution meet the requirement? Answer choices. A. Yes. B. No. The correct answer is A. Yes. The solution meets the requirement. The key influencer's visual analyzes a metric or outcome, evaluates the field supplied in Explain By, ranks the factors that matter, and displays how those factors affect the selected outcome. Choosing renewed equals no focuses the analysis on non-renewal. Exam clue. Choose key influencers when the question is, which factors drive this outcome, and place the outcome in Analyze and candidate drivers in Explain By. Question 27. A scatter chart contains two fields, and each field is associated with a different report tooltip page. With the visual's tooltip page setting on Auto, Power BI chooses only one of the eligible pages. The report author needs the scatter chart to always display the page named Customer Detail when a reader hovers over a data point. What should the author configure? Answer choices. A. For the scatter chart, open the Tooltips formatting card and select Customer Detail from the page dropdown. B. For the Customer Detail page, add both fields to drill through filters. C. For the Customer Detail page, turn Tooltip off and hide the page. D. For the scatter chart, leave the page dropdown on Auto and reorder the two fields in the visual. The correct answer is A. For the scatter chart, open the Tooltips formatting card and select Customer Detail from the page dropdown. A supported visual can be assigned a report tooltip manually from its Tooltips formatting card. Selecting Customer Detail in the page dropdown overrides automatic tooltip selection for that visual. Exam clue. When several report tooltip pages could match a visual, manually choose the required page in the visual's Tooltips formatting card. Question 28. Service managers need to start with total warranty cost and interactively break the measure down by product family, plant, supplier, and failure type. They must be able to choose the dimensions in any order or ask Power BI to select the next dimension that leads to the highest value. Which visual should you add? Answer choices. A. Q&A. B. Key influencers. C. Decomposition tree. D. Smart narrative. The correct answer is C. Decomposition tree. A decomposition tree accepts a measure or aggregate in Analyze and dimensions in Explain By. Users can expand the tree through those dimensions in any order. Its high-value and low-value AI splits can examine the available fields and choose the next dimension that produces the corresponding extreme value, which supports the requested root cause exploration. Exam clue. Use a decomposition tree when users need an interactive root measure, flexible drill dimensions, and AI-selected high or low-value splits. Question 29. A manufacturing report uses direct query to monitor machine telemetry. On the operations page, all visuals must query for new data every 2 minutes, even when no change has been detected in the source. You are configuring the report in Power BI Desktop. Arrange the actions in the order in which you should perform them. Available actions. A. Open the page's formatting pane and expand the page refresh card. B. Set the refresh interval to 2 minutes. C. Select the operations report page. D. Turn page refresh on and select auto page refresh as the refresh type. The correct order is Step 1. C. Select the operations report page. Step 2. A. Open the page's formatting pane and expand the page refresh card. Step 3. D. Turn page refresh on and select auto page refresh as the refresh type. Step 4. B. Set the refresh interval to 2 minutes. Automatic page refresh is configured for a selected report page. With a supported direct query connection, open that page's formatting pane, use the page refresh card to turn the feature on, choose the fixed interval auto page refresh type, and enter the required 2-minute interval. Fixed interval refresh sends update queries for all visuals on the page whenever the interval is reached. Exam clue. For cadence-based updates, configure the selected direct query page's page refresh card with auto page refresh, and then supply the interval. Question 30. A report author has an available semantic model, but has not chosen a business topic for a new report. The author asks Copilot to suggest content. How does Copilot establish the starting direction for its suggestions? Select one answer. Answer choices. A. It evaluates the semantic model data and bases topic suggestions on that data. B. It evaluates the report theme and bases topic suggestions on its formatting. C. It evaluates workspace item names and bases topic suggestions on those names. D. It evaluates bookmark labels and bases topic suggestions on their navigation order. The correct answer is A. It evaluates the semantic model data and bases topic suggestions on that data. When Suggest Content is selected, Copilot evaluates the semantic model data and proposes topics based on that data. Exam clue. Without a chosen topic, expect Copilot to derive suggestions from the available data. Question 31. A report author is choosing inputs for a narrative visual with Copilot and turns on Show Hidden Bookmark Visuals. 4 diagnostic charts are hidden by default. The author needs to identify the chart that is eligible to appear in the Hidden Bookmark Visual selection list. Which hidden chart is eligible? Select one answer. Answer choices. A. A chart on a hidden report page that no report bookmark makes visible. B. A chart on a visible page that is shown by a report bookmark with data cleared. where the bookmark is available through a bookmark navigator. C. A chart shown only by a reader's personal bookmark. D. A chart shown by a report bookmark that captures data and is assigned to a bookmark button. The correct answer is B. A chart on a visible page that is shown by a report bookmark with data cleared, where the bookmark is available through a bookmark navigator. Hidden bookmark visuals for a Copilot narrative must be associated with a display-only report bookmark, which means data is cleared so the bookmark changes visibility without restoring filters or slicers. The bookmark must also be reachable through a bookmark button or bookmark navigator. The chart on the visible page that is shown by display-only report bookmark satisfies both conditions. Exam clue. For a hidden visual to be available to a Copilot narrative, verify both bookmark semantics and reachability, use a display-only report bookmark with data cleared and expose it through a bookmark button or navigator. Question 32. A revenue line chart already uses anomaly detection. When users select an anomaly, the explanation analysis currently considers many model fields. The business wants possible explanations to be evaluated only by store manager and city. What should you configure? Answer choices. A. Add separate average lines for store manager and city. B. Add store manager and city to the explain by field well. C. Add store manager and city to the line chart legend. D. Increase anomaly detection sensitivity. The correct answer is B. Add store manager and city to the explain by field well. Explain by controls which semantic model fields Power BI analyzes when generating possible explanations for a selected anomaly. Adding store manager and city there restricts the explanation analysis to those fields without changing the time series measure itself. Exam clue. Use sensitivity to change what gets flagged, and explain by to change which dimensions are investigated as possible causes. Question 33. A line chart displays profit by fiscal period. The author wants an additional series that subtracts the preceding displayed period's profit from the current period's profit. The calculation should follow the visual axis rather than being pinned to a specific date column. Which visual calculation template should the author use? Answer choices. A. Moving average. B. Percent of parent. C. Look up a value with totals. D. Versus previous. The correct answer is D. Versus previous. The versus previous template compares the current displayed value with the preceding value and uses the previous visual calculation function. Previous follows the visual matrix axis, which fits a comparison based on displayed fiscal period order. Exam clue. For an axis relative comparison to the immediately preceding displayed value, use previous or the versus previous template. Question 34. A report is distributed to users who have read access but no edit permission. The users need to change a chart's visualization type and swap its measure or dimension while remaining in report reading view. Which report feature should the author enable? Answer choices. A. Automatic page refresh. B. Personalize visuals. C. Edit interactions. D. Persistent filters only. The correct answer is B. Personalize visuals. Personalize visuals lets report readers change visualization types, swap measures or dimensions, and make other supported visual changes in reading view without edit permission. The author must first enable the feature for the report. Exam clue. When readers without edit permission need ad hoc visual exploration, enable personalized visuals rather than granting report edit access. Before the final question, reset to the scenario. Identify the requested outcome, check the stated scope, verify any prerequisites, and choose only the option that satisfies every requirement. Question 35. A regional manager can read a Power BI report but does not have write permission to add visuals. The manager needs an on-demand Copilot summary of the report for a meeting. The summary does not need to be saved on the report canvas. Which approach should the manager use? Answer choices. A. Add a narrative visual with Copilot to the report page. B. Create a personal bookmark and configure it to capture data. C. Create a report summary in the Copilot pane. D. Export the report to PDF and add a smart narrative to the exported file. The correct answer is C. Create a report summary in the Copilot pane. Creating a narrative visual requires write permission because it adds a visual to the report. A reader without write permission can instead create a report summary in the Copilot pane when the requirement is an on-demand summary rather than a saved visual. Exam clue. Separate an authored narrative visual from a reader's on-demand summary. The visual needs write permission, while the Copilot pane can provide the reader summary. You have completed all 35 questions in this Advanced Analytics, Copilot, and Dynamic Reporting practice session. Review any missed reasoning, then continue to the final PL-300 theme when you are ready.